So welcome. We're going to talk about some free communication tools that you can use to help enhance your ministry. So we know that one of the greatest shifts that has happened in our society of recent has been the way that we communicate. And so we continue to communicate face to face, which includes our opportunities to worship and gather together like here at Synod Assembly, but that we also have an incredible amount of digital tools that can connect us no matter where we are, whether we are together and using Twitter and Facebook and Instagram to connect others with our with things like our Synod Assembly, or whether we are a community that might even be gathered digitally, folks who are spread out geographically but who meet together online to create community. So I wanted to share some tools with you that I have found really useful and hopefully that you might find useful in your ministry as well. So the first level of tools we're going to talk about are design tools. So things that you can use to enhance your design online. So for example, one of the things we know about Facebook is that things that you post on Facebook get seen more if there's a picture attached. And you might not have like a photograph that really shows what you're looking for. So instead, there are these great free design tools that you can use to create a really simple graphic or something that will catch people's eye so that they see what you're doing in your ministry. So the first tool that I use this nearly every day. If you have seen any sort of print material from the Synod, chances are I've created it in this program. It's called Canva, so like canvas without the S. It's a free program, and one of the great things about it is if you are a nonprofit, which all of our congregations and ministries are, you can get the professional version for free. You just have to send them a copy of your longer IRS tax-exempt letter. It's like a 4 to 7 page letter, and they will set you up with that for free. So that gives you all the power of this tool for free. And it helps you create graphics really quickly and easily. Yes, Katie?
I would let you finish the sentence.
No, that was the end of that sentence.
Okay. But when you use it, you don't get free the things they charge you for.
Correct, but there are tons of free things in there. They've even expanded recently the free things and all of the elements that...
You get those other things for free.
Correct, but those are all $1, so everything that they have in their system that costs money is just $1. But they have, I've even, over the past, I would say, year, they have maybe doubled the amount of free things that they have available. And I'll share some other tools. Yeah, this is my favorite tool. So they have different layouts depending on the type of graphic you're creating. So say you're creating a Facebook post. You would go in and you would say you want to create, it's actually called a Facebook app in Canva, and you would click on that and it would give you can either create your own from scratch, or you can choose from a bunch of different templates that you can use to just sort of quickly plug in your information, your graphics, and create this photo. So yesterday when we decided we were going to be live streaming Brian McLaren, I just went in, really quickly added a background, did some text, dropped his photo into one of the frames that they have available, and was able to push that out on our social media channels really easily. It gave people a visual reference for what we were doing. It caught people's eyes. And as you heard, we had more than 500 people joining us over the course of his keynote address. And I think that it was helpful for folks to be able to see an image online that kind of caught their eye and said, oh, I know who Brian McLaren is. I want to hear him speak. It's a web-based program, so you don't have to download anything. There's no software, and that also means that you can access it from anywhere. So no matter what computer you're on, you can use it. They also have an app, and the app has a little bit more limitation in terms of the types of graphics that you can create, just because it's a little more intense to be doing it on a computer. But there's plenty of accessibility within the app. And you can also, if you have like a church branding, so if you have a logo and colors that you like to use, maybe even fonts that you like to use to create some visual uniformity, you can download, once you have signed up for Canva for Work, the free for nonprofits piece, you can import your logos and colors so that those are always really accessible right on the sidebar, so that you can drag those into everything so that you have your branding there all the time. Yeah, Jason?
Yeah, I cannot overstate. You cannot overstate how good it looks, and what Julie's been able to do with the Delaware-Maryland Synod stuff, and again, how Facebook will privilege your posts when you have images, especially images that connect to a larger brand.
Yeah. So this is I mean, like I said, this is the tool I use nearly every day. I use it for everything. I design my wedding invitations in this program, so I highly recommend it. Yeah, Katie.
And let me say, as a middle-aged boomer, it's really easy.
Yeah, it's drag and drop, WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. It's a great program. Yeah.
As a nonprofit, let's say I'd like to use it at home instead of being, can I?
Oh yeah, because it's web-based, so you would just log into your account from your home computer, and it's so like I said, there's no software, there's no like disk that you have to insert to download it.
That I'm a nonprofit.
So you would sign up through your church, and you would just have an account, and you can log into that account from any computer. Yep.
Okay.
So this is my favorite tool. Yeah, go ahead.
I could sign up for my church, but then if I've got like 10 people that want to use it, do they each have to send in the IRS form, or I can create one account?
You can create the one account, and then they can create other accounts as well, and that's what's called contributors. And there's some good YouTube tutorials on how to use those kind of like more advanced features of Canva, and they have lots of really good tutorials on their website. So if you go in and you look for Canva for work, and then at things like your team, assembling your team, then it has the instructions for how to do that. Yep. So that's Canva. Again, my favorite. I can't say enough. They're also really responsive on social media. So if you're having a problem with something and you tweet at them, they'll tweet like right back at you and fix it. It's amazing. The next one, which is similar, is Adobe Spark. This is actually a suite of apps or programs that, again, are available on the web, so from your computer, but web-based, so you don't have to download anything, or as an app. So you can make video stories, which is called Spark Video. If you remember the video that we watched at the beginning of the assembly with the top 10 rules for Robert's Rules, that was made in Spark Video. It used to be called Adobe Voice. You can make graphics, which is sort of their program that's sort of like Canva in Spark Post. And web stories. So not necessarily building your whole web page, but if you wanted to, so you have a big event at the church and you want to sort of you want to invite people to it by creating like a landing page for it that has the history of the event and some of the things people can expect. That's something that you could create through a Spark page. And I haven't played around too much with that, but it looks like a cool tool to use, and it's one of their newer ones. You can use your own photos and videos, or they have like a graphic library that you can choose from. And I'm going to show you one of the videos. A few years ago, I worked with our Theological Education with Youth program that is sponsored out of Region 8, 7 and 8. And so it's where young people come together for theological education for a week. It's like seminary summer camp for high school students. And we had them create a video. They had about an hour and a half to create a video of all the things they had learned, what it means to be a Lutheran. So I'm going to show you one of the videos that was created by one of our youth.
And this was through the Spark?
This was through what's now Adobe Video, or yeah, Spark Video.
What does it mean to be a Lutheran? What does it mean to be a Lutheran? Lutherans are a community of people who share the same faith and beliefs. In the 1500s, we broke off from the Roman Catholic Church. Lutheranism was founded by a man named Martin Luther. Today, Lutheranism has spread all over the world. Lutherans believe that all people are simultaneously saint and sinner. We believe that Jesus Christ bared our sins on the cross. Through his death and resurrection, we are saved by grace. Jesus taught us to love one another. Lutherans come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. No two of us are the same, and we thrive together as a community.
So as you can see, that was just a really simple video created in about an hour and a half by a teenager. We gave them all iPads and just like set them loose to go do their thing. And you're able to record it with your voice like a section at a time, so that you don't have to record your whole narration at once. It's a really great tool for telling stories and for creating a video that looks really nice when you maybe don't have a ton of video editing skills or tools at your disposal. So I would really recommend Spark Video. And then again, Spark Post is really similar to Canva, and Spark Page is for creating a sort of website type selection. Stock photography. I'll start by saying I generally do not recommend stock photography in certain places on church websites. The prime example of this is that a congregation wants to put out a website and they want people to feel welcome. So they'll choose a stock photo of a very diverse community. So it might include people with a variety of skin tones, with levels of ability, things like that. And then someone shows up to that church, and that is not what they see when they show up. So as much as possible, I highly recommend, if you're using pictures of people especially, I highly recommend using photos from your own context. Some congregations have even paid maybe like $200 for someone to come to one of their big worship services, so like Easter morning. So it's $200 for an hour, seems like a lot, but a professional photographer can come and take photos of your worship service and have this like really nice set of professional photos that are yours to use as you want, that really represent your community. And there are some great uses for stock photography. So for creating those graphics that you see that you want to create in Canva and things like that, sometimes you just need a picture of, maybe you're having a service project, so you want a picture of some tools. You don't need to show people the exact tools that they're going to see when they show up. So you can use stock photography for that. If you follow our Synod blog, where the bishop blogs each week, I pretty much use a stock photo every week from that because it's really high quality photos that are free to use. So not all stock photography is free, but these 3 sites, stocksnap.io, so that's what you would type into the browser instead of .com, unsplash.com, UNSPLASH, and Pixabay, Pixabay, which is actually one that Cindy Ranker just taught me about recently, are all really great sources for stock photography that you can use for free without having to credit. They always appreciate if you do credit, like in a caption or something, but you don't have to. They're really high resolution, high quality. They've also increased in their photographs of having lots more diversity, which is a great way for like diversity of types of images, which is a great way for you to find some images that you might use. If you go into one of those sites and you search candles, you're set for prayer posts for like 3 years. So I highly recommend using one of these for when you are trying to show something that is not people that they can expect to see when they show up on a Sunday morning. Yeah, Cindy.
The whole thing about taking your own pictures and posting them online and permission. Where are we? Yeah, on that.
Yep. So there are a variety of things about this. If you're having an event, I highly recommend, like an event that people would register for, especially something like Vacation Bible School, I highly recommend including a photo release in your registration for that so that folks sign that they consent to having images shared. When you're dealing with children and youth, one of my recommendations is to not post first and last names or to tag. If adults wish to do that for their own children, to tag their children in photos or identify them, that's fine, but we don't do that from our end. Some churches have also posted signs outside of their space, especially like if they were going to invite a professional photographer in, that says, by entering this space, you are consenting to be photographed. If you do not wish to be photographed, please see so-and-so, and they have an easily identifiable place that someone can go so that the photographer can work around them. Generally, folks are pretty flexible about their image being used. I think folks mostly get it, but I would also always respect anyone who came to me and said that they didn't wish for their image to be used and then remove that. But especially if we're taking more photos and sharing more photos, I think it gets people in the habit of knowing that that's something that could happen when they're in the space, and they can have a conversation with you if they'd prefer that to not be the case. Yeah.
It's important that you talk to people about it, because there are men, women, and children who suffer from abuse, neglect, that are running. And they need to have a welcome home, but they also need to know that their image is not going to be out.
Absolutely. That's why it's just a great practice to let folks know that you're going to be taking pictures, and let them know if they would like to opt out, and then they can just come to you privately instead of having to sort of share that more publicly. So yeah, these are great sources for stock photography for any of those design projects, or if you just sort of need a photo to capture attention. Okay, so on to some more communication tools, which these are all communication tools, but these are more about the ways that we communicate, the method. MailChimp. If you have a church newsletter, you may want to consider also having an electronic newsletter. And some churches have moved away from having a printed newsletter at all and just have their electronic one, or there's sort of a hybrid. The church that I grew up in, they still create like a PDF of a newsletter so that it can be printed and sent, but they distribute that primarily by sending a link through a mass mailing service. So MailChimp is the one that I recommend most strongly. The other one that's most popular is Constant Contact. I've just had really good experiences with MailChimp, and it's also free, whereas Constant Contact either always requires payment or has a lower threshold for requiring payment. For MailChimp, you can basically send like 12,000 emails a month, I think, for free, which is like an email to each person that you have on your list. So it's most churches do not reach that threshold of needing to pay for MailChimp. It's a great way to send out your newsletters or other mass communications in your congregations really easily without having to compile a whole email list and then worry about breaking it down because it's too many people for one email. And it's a really great way to design really lovely emails with content like photos, videos, links, really easily, and get it to the widest number of people as quickly as possible. I am hoping in the coming months to do like a full MailChimp workshop because I know that this is something that a lot of churches want to get into, and we can't quite get into all of the nitty-gritty details of this today, but if that's something that you're interested in, keep an eye on our current newsletter, and we'll try and get that word out in a couple of different ways as well so that you can maybe send someone who might be working with your newsletter to learn more about it. Yeah, Carolyn?
Is this something that, like, if you have a PDF newsletter, you can send it out attached to that?
Yep, you can upload files through MailChimp. So you would just go in, type your text that you want people to see, highlight the link, or like, the text that you want linked, and then upload a file, and when people click that link, the file will download.
Okay.
Yep, so it eliminates double work for some folks who are still producing like a PDF.
So it's not like an attachment, but you...
Right, correct. Yep, yeah, so it would be like a download, so it's like an embedded file, and MailChimp hosts all those files, and I send at least 2 newsletters a week, sometimes 3 to 5, and I upload a lot of files and a lot of images, and I have not run out of storage space yet. I'm also using the paid version, but we have a very large list. So they host all of your files and things like that so that you don't have to host them online somewhere.
Is that like does the e-letter?
Yes, the e-letter comes through MailChimp. Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, so it also provides you with good metrics so that you can see who's opening your emails. You can even get into the level of detail where you can go in, see who has clicked a link, how many times they've clicked that link, if they forwarded the email, things like that, so that you can see who's opening your newsletter. You can get a sense of like what time is a good time of day to send it, things like that. It's a really great program that I highly recommend. So for building your website, if you don't currently have a website, or I know that there are lots of churches who built a website in an era where there were these like church-specific website building companies that have maybe gone defunct, and so they don't have as much control over their web presence, or they would have to call someone and say, these are the updates I want to my website, and then somebody in another state would have to make those updates. That time is gone, and now there are lots of tools that you can use to make a really beautiful website. I'll say that I think that church websites don't need to be super intricate. I think that folks don't need all the information that we've necessarily been trying to provide for them in the past. It's good to have a place where you can post things like church council minutes that are open to the public, where you can share about events, where people can read about your ministries, where they can see who the staff is at your church so they know who they can contact. But it's not necessary to be like a really super in-depth 15-level website. So the 4 top website building programs that are out there right now are Weebly, which is what we're currently using at the Synod office, and I've had a good experience with them. We're moving to WordPress because that's what the company that builds our site uses, but I've had a positive experience with Weebly. Wix, W-I-X, Squarespace, And WordPress, as I said. So WordPress, ironically, the one I have the least experience with. But the other three are really great website builders that are, again, like Canva, drag and drop, and WYSIWYG. So you're not doing a lot of coding or anything. What you see is what you get. If you want something to be italic, you highlight the text, you click italic, and it shows up italic. So these are the website builders that I would recommend if you are looking to revamp your church's web presence.
And I think it's just so important, as Julie says, you don't have to get in depth. You just need to be visible and current. Yes. I go and I preach at places where I go, and the last thing that they updated was in 2006.
Right.
I'm the preacher, and I don't even know, like, do they still have worship?
Right.
Where exactly are they?
Even if it's just a landing page that without scrolling, someone can see the name of your church, what time you worship, and your address. Those are the most important. And then you can get into things like adding your staff on your website, your values, things like that. All those things are really important, but someone should be able to visit your website and in less than 30 seconds know when and where to go to worship, particularly for churches. Yeah, Cindy and then Katie.
They also like you to know what's going on with you.
Yes.
And essential. But Weebly, we go through Weebly and I got an email that they were merging or bought by Square.
Oh, were they bought by Square? Oh.
Is that the Squarespace?
That's, yeah, Square. So Square and Squarespace are sort of the same thing. Square is like if you go to an outdoor market and someone has like a credit card reader, chances are it's Square or PayPal. That makes sense. So Weebly and Square would be merging, but they have a similar interface for building your website. Yeah, Katie.
I hope I remember what I was going to say.
I don't say so.
Maybe just cause it. No, I think what I wanted to ask was about. It would be helpful to hear you talk about. I mean, you've alluded to this. Just what's important. What are the most important things? Oh, and about the website. And then it came to me. Second of all, if worship is not the entry door for coming to a community anymore, then it seems to me that the other things that are really important are those other entry spaces like service opportunities or social gatherings or that kind of stuff.
So I'll go backwards with answering. So this is where listening to your community is really important because the chances are the people who have been coming to your church for 5, 10, 185 years, they know when and where church is. Great. So your website is not really for them quite so much. But if you listen to your community and say, so what are the needs that we could be providing for our community? What does our community, what do they need from us? Those are the things that you should be featuring on your website. So if you have a really excellent food pantry and your community experiences a lot of food instability, that's something that you should be featuring on your website and making sure that people know how to get to so that people are able to associate you with this feeding ministry that you do. And so that when somebody Googles food pantry, Hyattsville, Maryland, they know that your congregation comes up and that's where you are. Because putting things on our website makes us show up higher in Google searches. So this is the sort of, circuitous thing of the internet. You have to put it out there for people to be able to find it. So the important things I would say to have on your website, in addition to any sort of entry opportunities, so looking at what are your church windows? What are the places that people would peer in and see what's happening at your church? Anything like that should be featured somewhere on your website. So whether that's in a list of your ministries or if you really prominently feature your events that are happening, it's really important to have those easily accessible on your website. And that's why using that kind of top menu bar method is a really good one because people see immediately when they get there, oh, these are what I'm looking for. And then, like I said, worship time and location, really great for folks who find you on the internet and just kind of want to stop by. Yeah, Bob.
We use Weebly also. I haven't done this, but I also believe that Weebly gives you the opportunity to see which pages are being opened the most.
Yes. Yep, Weebly also has metrics so that you can see where people are visiting and what kinds of things they're clicking on and things like that. All these tools will include some sort of metrics. Metrics are like our favorite word in... I'm sorry?
Do you know what Wix or Squarespace?
I would assume that they both do, but I haven't worked with either one of those directly, so I'm not sure.
Do they have what?
Metrics.
Oh, yeah, Squarespace definitely does.
Okay.
Yeah.
How expensive are these? Because we're using a Vista print, and our websites can that, and we have 3 different levels we can go with. So how expensive?
Yeah, most of these sites also have both a free option and a paid option, and then sort of the levels. I know the one that we use for the Synod, which is the presently for Weebly for the professional, is like $99 a year, which doesn't include the web hosting, like the hosting of the domain and all those types of things that are not my strongest suit. But for just the professional version of Weebly, it's like $99 a year for us. So they're fairly affordable, and you should always, if you're going to pay for anything communication tool, always ask if they have a nonprofit discount. Nearly everyone has a nonprofit discount, and all they need is that letter that says that you're a nonprofit, and you can get anywhere from 10 to 30% off on some of these services. So WUFOO, WUFOO, is an online form builder. It's the one we're currently using in our Synod. So if you registered for anything except Synod Assembly, you have used WUFOO. Synod Assembly is a little bit more of an involved registration, so we've been using a separate program. But if you just need to collect registrations for things, WUFOO is a great option. It helps you manage your registrations for events. You can also run surveys and things through it. You can collect contact information. So if you are putting together a church directory, this would be a great tool to use to collect folks' information. You can customize your own templates so it looks branded like it's all yours, and that might be included in the paid version. And if you have the pro account, you can accept payments as well. Link it to your account to accept online payments. So we'll be shifting to a new registration software that comes with our new website, but this is still the one that I would recommend for anyone who doesn't have like a registration form system built into their website. I would recommend WUFOO. It's been a good experience for us. Google Drive. This is a tool that some of you may use in your personal or professional lives as well, but it's great for the church. In the LYO, this is how we organize our whole year. So each team has a folder, and they do all of their work when they're not together in person. They do all of that in there, and I have access to it at all times. This is also, they have lots of different tools within Google Drive. So you have Google Docs, which is basically like a Word document online. You can do anything that you could do in Word online. Sheets, which is like Excel. Slides, which is like PowerPoint. That's what this presentation was created on, was Google Slides. Forms, which is another thing similar to WUFOO, where you can create a form if you fill out your Synod Assembly evaluation, which I hope you'll all do. You'll be filling out a Google form. Drawings, maps, and sites. So anything you want to do on the internet, you can do in Google. And it's a great way to share files with one another. So if you have, I know a lot of church councils will use these for their church council minutes and for documents that folks may need to access ahead of time instead of printing everything out and having this is the new church mailbox. And it's accessible from anywhere and on your phone, on your computer. It's a great tool. So I highly recommend familiarizing yourself with Google Drive. Sign Up Genius. So this is if you need folks to sign up for things and maybe you can't rely on them putting their name on a piece of paper on a list. Sign Up Genius is a great tool to use. When I talk to this youth ministers about using this tool, I'll talk about things like scheduling acolytes. We know that sometimes that can be a challenge, both getting them into church to sign up and then getting them back there on the day that they need to acolyte. So you can make a list of these are all the Sundays, Saturdays, whenever, the times that we need acolytes. You have folks sign up for it, and the website will send them a reminder ahead of time to remind them that they signed up to be an acolyte, or remind them that they signed up to bring potato salad to the church picnic. You can make recurring events so that you don't have to say, all right, Sunday, June 4th, Sunday, June, whatever. You would just say this happens every Sunday at these times. So this is a great tool for scheduling people, and especially when you need to get some of that scheduling done at times when folks are more dispersed. So in the summer or around the holidays, this is a really great tool to use. And again, they have free and pro versions, but I think most churches and ministries can get by on the free version. WhatsApp and GroupMe. So this is, again, one that is really important in the youth ministry world, but I think it has a lot of application across our churches. Who in here has an iPhone? Who has an Android phone? Okay, so we cannot all text each other in a group text. It gets very messy. If you've ever tried doing iPhones and Androids together in a group text, you don't want any part of it. It's terrible. So I recommend things like WhatsApp and GroupMe. So this is a great tool, again, for councils or ministry teams that you have in your congregation. It's a messaging app that kind of streamlines all of that so that you would have all of your chats with a certain group in one place. And then it means that, so if you're on church council and you're on the fellowship team and you're on the property committee, you can have all of your chats for those things in the same app so that you can go to them, find them, so you're not scrolling through 100 text messaging threads. And it can also be used on your desktop. Yeah, Katie.
These work equally well on both the iPhones and the
Correct. That is the benefit. Equally well on iPhone, Android, and desktop. Desktop has been really helpful for me for when I'm sitting at my desk and LYO uses GroupMe, and when we're having a little planning meeting, and so I don't have to be working on my computer and then also checking my phone all the time. All the messages are coming up as if it were in something like, it sort of looks like Facebook Messenger, that kind of platform on the computer. Yeah, Cindy.
Is it group Meet?
Me. GROUPME. And then WhatsApp is WHATSAPP. And both of these apps usually gain popularity when folks are going to be traveling internationally because they connect through Wi-Fi and are great messaging apps for messaging, phone calls, and video calls over Wi-Fi. So these are really popular apps like everywhere else in the world as well. And so I think that they're great for us to use in the church as well. They're free. You can send photos, videos, spreadsheets, anything you need to send. You can send files. So this is a great way to connect with folks when we're all kind of using different media platforms rather than trying to have the 17 email chain. Trello. So Trello is a productivity app. This is getting a little deep into it. So this is not going to be a tool for everyone. But if you're the type of person who really loves to-do lists and you want a way for your to-do list to live on your computer, this is my recommendation. So this is just a screenshot of the board that I made for road trip. So this is the to-do line. This is doing. I love the doing section, like, oh, I'm working on this. I know that I'm working on this. So it's not necessarily in my haven't started file yet. And then this is done. And you just drag and drop things from one list to the other. You can also create a team, and so you can assign tasks to other people with a deadline. You can upload the relevant material that you need for them to access. So this is a great productivity app. Again, it's a little more in depth. Yeah, Katie.
Only desktop. It isn't.
Oh, it's mobile as well. Desktop and mobile. Yeah.
Is it easier to use than to-do list?
I think so. I don't like Todoist very much. So I prefer Trello. Yeah, Chris.
So for Vacation Bible School, we put a poster up with sticky notes on it saying we need this, this, and this. We could do that in Trello and send it out to the congregation saying, okay, here's all the stuff, and they could pick which things they want.
So this is an interesting integration. I might start with Sign Up Genius for that and list all the things you need. And then once you have people signed up for it, put them in Trello and assign their tasks. So this is the actual thing that you need to do, and you can move it to the point in the board where it is.
It kind of reminds me, I'm an IT guy, and we do agile programming, and you kind of have your backlog of things to do and the things that are in progress and the things that need to be tested.
Yep, this is very like back end type thing. But this is a really cool tool, and again, it's there are free and paid versions, of course, but the free version works quite well. Okay, education tools. So these are some things that you can use in your ministry for some resources. Luther's Small Catechism is an app. You want to make sure that, you can download whichever version you'd like. I'd recommend the one that's published by Publishing House ELCA, because that is the one that 1517 Media Augsburg Fortress has put out, as opposed to there's one that's from the Missouri Synod. But again, you can download whichever one you like. It's called Luther's Small Catechism, and if you go to the App Store, it says it's put out by Publishing House ELCA. So it's the whole Small Catechism. The whole thing is right there. Really simple study tool. This is a great thing to use with a study group if you're like, wow, I really need like a 14-week session, what are we going to talk about? Let's just go through each part of the small catechism. So it has the basics. If you pay $1.99, you can upgrade to the study edition, which has lots of notes and artwork. So if folks want to do that and get into that level, it's great. But this is a great way to have the small catechism with you wherever you go, just as Luther intended. There's also the Bible Study app, which is put out by Olive Tree. It's just called Bible Study. It's pretty much on every platform. There are apps for every type of phone. There's a web version. There are apps for desktop computers. It's a great program. You can highlight verses, you can take notes, save passages, tag verses to categorize them. So if you're doing like a Bible study, you can go through and you can say, okay, well, this is for the session on generosity, and tag it with generosity, and then come back to all the ones that have been tagged with that. You can also share passages via text. I've shared that I worked in a youth ministry when I was in college, and one of the adult leaders signed up, or she said, well, anybody who wants me to text them a Bible verse every day, like just put down your phone number and I'll text you a Bible verse. I received those text messages from April of 2008 through January of 2016, and I only stopped receiving them because I asked her not to text me while I was going to South Africa, and I didn't get back on the text list. So she was really faithful in sending out a Bible verse every day to this just group of people who signed up for it. And this is like the new way that you can do that then, right? You can go into the app, tap a verse, and then share it via text with like a text group that you might have, or through WhatsApp or GroupMe, something like that. You can also download resource guides. They have reading plans. So if you want to do like a reading the Bible in a year type plan, folks can find that on their app, and you can all sort of follow it together. And they have plenty of translations and things like that. So this is a really good, solid Bible app to have on your phone.
Do they have the NRSV?
I think that they do have NRSV. I think they have the message, yeah.
That you can download.
Do you have to pay for NRSV?
You have to buy
Okay,
some.
yeah.
But they're still pretty cheap.
Yeah.
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 All right, so there are prayer apps. Did you know that? I'm so excited about this. I didn't know about these until sort of recently. And I have been really feeling like I lack discipline in a lot of ways, and especially in my prayer life. I'll tell someone I'm going to pray about something, and then I really mean it when I say it, and then I'm like, what did that... Someone wanted me to pray about something. And I don't set aside time to pray, and so I'm definitely going to be implementing some of these into my daily life. So 2 apps, Pray As You Go and Common Prayer. For Pray As You Go, if you're really into like English, Irish accents, this is your jam. It's someone basically reading you passages and meditations and reflections in this lovely, calming accent. It's beautiful.
They use Ignatian spirituality.
Yes. Yep. So this is a great tool. It has a daily, Pray As You Go has a daily meditation. So every single day you can open it up. They're about like 10 minutes long in that sort of range. Readings, reflections, they have original music that's really relaxing. It's a really wonderful meditation tool, and some guided prayer. Common Prayer, some of you may have the book, is it Liturgy for Ordinary Radicals? Yeah, by Shane Claiborne. This is the app that they have, and so they have prayers for morning, midday, and evening that have been compiled from lots of different traditions, and are really easily accessible as well. The thing I like about these apps is that they can be used in a group or individually. So individually, if you are driving to work and you have an extra 10 minutes, putting on the Pray As You Go app and just listening to that as you get into work, just sort of setting your day, right? I've also been in a setting where that was someone just pulled out their phone and that was their devotion for their group, was just all listening to this common meditation. So these are really great tools for using both by yourself or with a group, and can be the kind of thing where maybe you're all using it individually on a daily basis, but then when you come together, you're also able to use it together, and so it's a nice shared experience.
Pray As You Go also has a Facebook presence.
Oh, nice.
As a what?
Pray As You Go has a Facebook presence as well. And then these are the 3 new prayer apps I found: Echo and PrayerMate and Ceaseless. My favorite, you can't really see it because of how the graphics are on the app, but the one in the middle, it says swipe left to pray. which is, there's lots of things that you swipe on online now, and that was just amusing to me. So in Ceaseless is the one that's a little different. Ceaseless connects to your contacts in your phone and invites you to pray through your contact list, which I thought, when you're just sort of like, some people will say, like our bishop says, so I pray through our roster of our roster of ministers every day. If you just want to like incorporate prayer into your life and not necessarily need to compile the list, Ceaseless, you can just pray through your contact list. Echo and PrayerMate are where you can like add prayers to a list, and then you can set up notifications to remind you to pray. So in Echo, you can add prayers, you can tag them with like different topics. So say you've like uploaded, you've tagged all your prayers, and you're like, I really feel like I want to pray for people who are having health issues right now. You would click on the health tag, and it would pull up all your health prayers. You can also go into individual prayers and mark them as answered, which I think is adorable. You can join a prayer group. So this is a great way for you to connect a bunch of people. If everybody has Echo, you can all join a group together, and you can upload your common prayer concerns together. And then if you click on Echo, if you click that up arrow, that says that's saying like you want to start to pray. So it just pulls up the prayer requests that you have. So for someone like me who does not have a super disciplined prayer life, this is a great way that I can remember all the things that I said I would pray about and actually set aside the time to pray about them and cycle through them. PrayerMate, you can create lists. So when I opened up the app, it said list names of family members. And so I just started typing in a bunch of my family members. And then later I said, well, I want to pray for family. And it brought them up like one by one, individually, a little card. Pray for Matt. Pray for Claire. And you can swipe through as you pray for those folks. So it seems sort of silly to say, we need an app to pray now. But the reality is that our communication methods have changed, like we've talked about, and we spend a lot of time here. And so why shouldn't we be using the devices that we spend our time with to help connect us to God and connect us to our faith communities? This is like revolutionary for me. I'm really excited about using these tools. And this is a great thing to invite folks in your congregations to use to help strengthen their prayer lives, because we know that as folks spend more time in prayer, that deepens our discipleship and our understanding of our common call to this gospel of Jesus that we're all following. And this is a great way to get people to do that. You can add some levity to it, right? Like prayer, there's an app for that. But that it's really genuinely a way to invite people into a deeper reflection in their faith. So that's what I have. Yeah, Katie.
So this is not a specific question about anything we talked about, but a broader question about, I would say that, so we're in this in-between time, between we're using all this stuff all the time for everything, and the people that have to have their printed newsletter.
Yes.
And so we did a little survey. I have lots and lots of older retired people, mostly in fact. So we did a survey about, because we've tried to use Facebook a lot, and it was a simple, do you use it, why not, da, da, da. It was split almost half and half around things like, I don't want to waste the time, I'm worried about privacy, but the people who used it, of course, loved it. So it would be interesting to me to figure out a way to talk to people who generally, I have people with flip phones. Kind of thing, and so which are they're nice people. I love them dearly. So these are some great tools you're talking about, and how to. I know it's some of that thing about early adapters and all of that.
Yeah.
Inserting this stuff into congregational life versus I can go and make a web page with Weebly. That's one thing. I'd like you to talk about that, and people that are kind and loving, but perhaps suspicious and somewhat resistant.
Yeah.
Wait, can I add on to that? Just to make this even broader for you. It's not just older retired folks.
No,
I have youth that have flip phones or aren't allowed to have phones. So when we told them in the pre-gathering parents meeting that they need a smartphone, the parents were like, no. So
I'm a 92-year-old guy who reads the newsletter on MailChimp every week.
Yep.
Yeah, I text my 73-year-old Ultra Guild person constantly, but I can't text teenagers.
Right.
Federal workers that work for NSA and won't go.
Yep. Sure. So this is, yep.
But I guess she's a little bit-
Yeah, so this is, and I'll say this is where we're going to end because I need to run down for worship. But this is a great question because this is sometimes in this digital world that we live in, digital and what some will call real life, which digital is real life. I always find that really important to highlight. The things that we do online actually matter in our real lives, and I think that folks have experiences with that personally, professionally, etc. But nothing is ever going, we're not trying to like replace people like jotting down their prayers, right? And having a prayer list that they keep in their pocket. But we're trying to find ways that we can enhance that for folks for who that is, like an important tool that they use are their digital tools. So for example,
Also general communication.
yeah, so I'm thinking about in your congregation when you have a prayer list. So I think it's really important to print the list of prayers if that's something that's important for your congregation, to continue doing that. But then saying at the bottom, to submit a prayer request, you can call the church office or you can join our prayer group on Echo. And this is how you download that. And so always offering people the opportunity to both to engage in the ways that are comfortable for them and that they know, but invite them to maybe try something new if that's something that's right for them. We also know that accessibility is always going to be a question with digital tools. Not all digital tools increase accessibility in tons of ways, but also not all of them are developed for accessibility. And so for someone, they may need that printed list because the app might not have high enough contrast for them to be able to read it. So it's really important to provide people with as many tools as possible and to continue to lift those up and without sort of like beating people over the head with it. So I was at a church last weekend where they were super welcoming to everyone who was in worship. Thank you so much for being here. We love having you here. And then it was as if it were just a normal part of the service. If you have your phone and you want to pull it out and tell people that you're here at King of Glory, we would love to have you share that with them. It was just integrated. And so no one felt shamed for not pulling out their phone and sharing that they were there, but also no one felt shamed for doing that. They were invited into it. And so it's this language of invitation and inviting people to experience something in a new way that I think is really neat without then saying, well, we don't do this. We don't do this other thing anymore because we're doing it in a new way. But having options, that increases those entry points for folks like you were talking about earlier. Having not just Sunday morning worship isn't the only way that folks can get connected with us. So a prayer app isn't the only way that you can feel prayed for in our congregations. Yeah. Thank you. You were very patient while I spoke very quickly. It's a lot of material. As I said, I'll be sharing this via email with anyone who registered for the presentation. But if you are not sure if that's you or if you don't receive it in the next day or two, you can email me at jstecker, STECKER, at demdsynod.org. Yeah, Katie.
We can email you our questions.
You can email me your questions, absolutely.
And what platform will you be using?
All of them. Thank you so much.